A sunny afternoon in a peaceful park turns into chaos when a racist cop targets a black man who's simply enjoying his day. Handcuffs tighten, insults fly, and humiliation intensifies. But the tables flip when the cop discovers this suspect isn't just any man, he's an undercover FBI agent with a mission that will change everything. On a warm Saturday afternoon, families gathered at Riverside Park, children laughing as they chased each other across the grass, and the scent of grilled food drifting through the air. Among the crowd was a well-dressed black man named Agent Marcus Carter, although no one knew him by that title at the moment. He sat peacefully on a bench reading a book, wearing sunglasses, appearing like any ordinary visitor trying to enjoy the sunshine. Marcus often liked to blend in with everyday civilians. It helped him stay grounded despite the intensity of his job in the FBI Special Investigations Unit. Today was meant to be a calm break from the stress of undercover operations he had been running for months. He took a deep breath, thinking maybe he could finally unwind. But peace never lasted long for someone in his line of work. Across the park, Officer Brad Thompson patrolled in his cruiser, frustration simmering beneath his uniform. Brad had a reputation, not a proud one. Whenever he saw a black man living life freely, smiling, or simply existing in a way he didn't approve of, he suddenly felt the urge to act like he was saving the world. Racism lived deep in his bones, inherited through generations of hatred he never questioned. Today, his eyes locked on Marcus, and disgust twisted his expression. "Another thug pretending to be civilized," he muttered, gripping the steering wheel as anger coursed through him for no real reason at all. Brad parked nearby and stepped out with a dominating swagger, intentionally loud footsteps to make his presence felt. Marcus didn't look up from his book. He noticed the officer, but he knew better than to react first. In his experience, reacting gave them an excuse. But Brad was already fuming over the lack of attention. "Hey!" he barked. "What are you doing here?" Marcus calmly lifted his gaze. "Just reading," he replied politely. To Brad, that sounded like sarcasm. "Show me your ID," he demanded aggressively. Marcus blinked slowly, knowing where this was headed. "Officer, may I ask what crime I'm suspected of?" he responded evenly. Brad scoffed. "Loitering. Suspicious behavior. Pick one." People nearby began watching, sensing tension. Brad's chest puffed with the satisfaction of having an audience. Marcus stayed still, respectful but not fearful. "I have every right to be here," he said. That sentence alone set Brad off like a ticking bomb. "Get up, hands where I can see them," he shouted, already reaching for his handcuffs. Marcus stood with controlled movements. "There's no need for this," he tried to reason. But Brad slammed him against the bench, twisting his arm harshly. Gasps echoed across the park. Children stopped playing. Parents froze before hurriedly pulling their kids away. Marcus closed his eyes briefly. The situation was spiraling, but he couldn't blow his cover or escalate. Brad continued his rant. "You people think you can just sit here like everyone else?" "Huh?" Marcus clenched his jaw. Breathing slowly, patience had kept him alive through far worse than this. "Officer, let me show you something in my wallet," he said through restraint. But Brad interpreted it as resistance. "Oh no, you don't," he growled, forcing Marcus to the ground. Grass pressed into Marcus's cheek as the cold metal tightened around his wrists. The humiliation hit harder than the physical restraint. Not because Marcus wasn't used to confrontation, but because he had earned respect in rooms this cop could never enter. FBI headquarters, high-stakes national operations, briefings with top government officials. Yet here he was treated like trash simply because of the color of his skin. People recorded with their phones now. Brad screamed, "You're under arrest!" "Probably selling drugs in the park, huh?" Marcus stayed silent. He knew anything he said would be twisted. A little boy tugged his mother's shirt, whispering, "Mommy, why is that police officer being so mean?" The mother shook her head with tears in her eyes, unable to explain a world so broken. Brad hauled Marcus to his feet roughly. "You think you're smart? You're just another criminal," he spat. Marcus looked directly into his eyes, refusing to let the officer steal his dignity. "You have no idea who you're dealing with," he said quietly. That sentence unsettled Brad, just a flicker of uncertainty, but he masked it with louder hostility. Yeah, we'll see about that at the station, he barked, shoving him into the back of the police car. Brad smirked, convinced he had just secured another arrest to brag about, but Brad Thompson had no clue. He had just handcuffed one of the FBI's most respected undercover agents, who was currently working on a confidential mission involving high-profile criminals, including possibly someone inside the police force. And after today, Brad's life was about to flip upside down. Inside the police cruiser, the air felt tight and suffocating. Marcus sat silently, watching the familiar city streets pass by. He wasn't powerless. He could reveal his badge at any second. But he needed the right moment. There was more at stake than his pride. His current assignment involved tracking a major weapons trafficking ring, and every move he made had to be calculated. The leak they were investigating wasn't just rumors evidence suggested someone inside law enforcement was helping criminals stay ahead of the FBI. If he revealed his identity too soon, the entire mission could collapse, and dangerous weapons could flood the streets. Brad drove with ego-fueled satisfaction, occasionally glancing back through the mirror to savor the sight of Marcus restrained. "Thought you could talk back to a cop, huh?" he taunted. Marcus ignored him. He had dealt with terrorists, assassins, and war criminals. Officer Brad Thompson wasn't even on the list of things that intimidated him. At the station, Brad dragged Marcus through the entrance. Officers turned their heads, curious about the commotion. "Caught this guy acting suspicious?" Brad bragged loudly. "Probably has a record." Marcus kept his head high. He wasn't going to let them strip away his dignity. As Brad processed fake charges, a senior officer named Lieutenant Harper approached. Harper was known for fairness, unlike Brad. "What's going on here?" she asked. Brad puffed out his chest. This man was loitering and resisted questioning. Harper frowned, studying Marcus. Something didn't fit. He didn't look like someone caught committing a crime. "Did you search him?" she asked. Brad smirked. "Yeah, he's clean. Probably dumped the evidence." Harper didn't buy that. She stepped closer to Marcus. "Sir, do you have identification?" Marcus nodded calmly. "If the cuffs are removed, I can show you." Brad's eyes widened. He didn't want to give Marcus any control. "No way. He's a threat," Harper glared back. "Remove the cuffs, Officer Thompson." Brad hesitated but obeyed reluctantly. Marcus rubbed his wrists where the metal had dug into his skin. He reached slowly into his wallet. Deliberate motion to avoid misunderstandings. He pulled out a leather badge holder and flipped it open. The bold gold letters hit the room like a bomb. Federal Bureau of Investigation, Special Agent Marcus Carter. The entire station went dead silent. Brad's face drained of color, confusion twisted into panic. Harper inhaled sharply and took a step back. "Officer Thompson, you arrested an FBI agent?" she demanded. Brad stuttered. He didn't look like, The excuses crumbled before they even left his tongue. Marcus stared straight into Brad's eyes. "You racially profiled and assaulted a federal officer," he stated firmly. Gasps filled the room. Brad's mouth opened, but no sound followed. He was drowning in fear. Lieutenant Harper immediately apologized. "Agent Carter, we deeply regret this misunderstanding." Marcus held up a hand, cold, controlled. "This isn't a misunderstanding. This is a behavior pattern. I've been watching the complaints filed against your officer." Brad froze. "What?" Marcus continued. "I wasn't here by accident. I was gathering evidence on racial discrimination within this department." Harper looked stunned. "You were the undercover agent the Bureau notified us about?" Marcus, nodding, confirmed everything. Brad felt like the ground was collapsing beneath him. All the times he laughed about getting away with abusing black civilians. Those days were over. Marcus turned to Harper. "I want to see your captain." The meeting that followed wasn't pretty. Inside the captain's office, Marcus laid out documentation, videos, recordings, proof of Brad's misconduct spanning months. "Officer Thompson has violated civil rights repeatedly," Marcus explained. "And the FBI takes that seriously," Brad tried to defend himself. "This is ridiculous." He's turning this against me. The captain shut him down. Enough. You're suspended pending investigation. Brad panicked, sweat forming at his temples. He reached toward Marcus as if begging. Look, I didn't know. Marcus stepped back, voice cutting sharp as steel. You didn't care to know. The captain escorted Brad out, now the one treated like a criminal in handcuffs. The irony tasted bitter. The same walk of shame he forced on others now belonged to him. When the door closed, Harper exhaled. Agent Carter, thank you for exposing him. We never had enough evidence before, Marcus nodded. This is only the beginning. Because Brad wasn't the only corrupt officer, and Marcus wasn't finished yet, Marcus spent the next several hours reviewing files in the station's conference room. The captain and Lieutenant Harper sat with him, uncovering reports previously dismissed as false. Allegations. Brad Thompson was just the doorway into a much darker truth. 3 more officers had been manipulating reports, targeting minorities, and assisting known criminals in exchange for money. Marcus's mission wasn't just about racism. It was about dismantling a ring of corruption poisoning the justice system from the inside. Harper slammed her fist on the table. They swore an oath to protect people, and instead they're destroying lives. Marcus looked at her steadily. We bring them down the right way. Legally, by the book, because that's how justice sticks permanently. With Harper's help, Marcus set up surveillance access and requested backup. Hours later, 2 additional FBI agents arrived, Special Agents Riley and Torres, both tough, experienced, and eager to clean house. Together, they formed a strategy to arrest the corrupt officers. The takedown had to be swift and flawless. If word leaked, criminals would scatter like roaches. Night fell as tension rose. Harper radioed the targeted officers, calling them into the station under false pretenses. They walked in casually until they saw the FBI jackets. Panic flashed across their faces. What's going on? One officer demanded. Marcus stepped forward with undeniable authority. The FBI is placing you under arrest for corruption, racketeering, and violating civil rights. Riley and Torres cuffed them quickly. Brad, who had been locked in a holding room, witnessed them being dragged past him. Reality hit him like a punch. He was just another corrupt cop being weeded out. No more power. No more badge. No more illusion of superiority. Marcus approached him one last time. Brad tried to speak, but Marcus raised a hand. Save it. You'll have your chance in court. Brad's ego shattered. His past actions haunted him, every racist insult, every violent arrest, every abuse of authority, finally catching up. After the arrests, Marcus walked outside into the quiet night air. The park, where everything started, was just a few blocks away, still with children's laughter lingering in memory. Harper joined him. Thank you, she said sincerely. Marcus shook his head. Justice shouldn't need thanks, she smiled tiredly. Maybe not, but it still deserves recognition. He looked up at the moonlight reflecting off the city skyline. My job isn't about being recognized, he said. It's about making sure people can live without fear. Harper nodded. And today you made this city safer. Marcus knew the fight wasn't over. Not in this city, not anywhere. Racism didn't disappear with one arrest, nor did corruption vanish because a few officers were caught. But tonight was a victory, a symbol that things could change. Before leaving, Marcus returned briefly to the holding area. Brad looked smaller now, stripped of arrogance. Marcus held his gaze firmly. You assumed I was a criminal, he said quietly. But even if I wasn't an FBI agent, you had no right to treat me or anyone like that. Brad lowered his eyes. Unable to argue, Marcus continued, voice strong and unwavering. Your badge was supposed to stand for justice, not hate. With that, Marcus walked away, leaving Brad to confront his destroyed future. Walking out the station doors, Marcus took a deep breath of freedom and purpose. His phone buzzed, a message from his director. Outstanding work, Agent Carter. Report back tomorrow. He smiled lightly. Another day. Another mission. Another chance to serve. As he stepped into his car, he thought back to the moment he'd been handcuffed in the park. It wasn't the first time someone misjudged him, and it wouldn't be the last. But Marcus had learned long ago. Their racism said nothing about his worth, it only exposed their ignorance. Engine roaring softly, he drove past Riverside Park once more. Families were gone now, but the benches remained, waiting for tomorrow's laughter. He vowed silently that he would keep fighting for a world where peace wasn't a luxury, where nobody feared a badge meant to protect them. For now, justice had won, and Agent Marcus Carter was just getting started.